a golf sanctuary so elite that even the wealthiest billionaires wait for a formal invite. A massive real estate portfolio spanning one state, growing silently for 30 years while the world watched him dominate the basketball court. An entire business empire constructed in a city most fans would never link to the most iconic athlete in human history. Fans assume Michael Jordan's fortune stays in Chicago, the land of rings and statues, where his bronze figure reaches out as if he still owns the city sky. Yet the true account of where Jordan parked his cash, where he laid bricks and planted roots after the cheering stopped, that story unfolds in Ohio, and it is far more massive than most people can even imagine. Today, we are breaking down everything from the hidden properties, the companies, the golf course built on pure obsession, and the savvy moves that turned athlete pay into a generational dynasty that will keep printing money long after we are all gone. Let's dive in. The Carolina roots. Why Ohio was the perfect play. Before dissecting the Ohio Empire, you have to realize something about Michael Jordan that the average basketball fan misses entirely. Jordan is not a Chicago native. Chicago was his office. Chicago was where he reached legendary status. Chicago provided the stage, the rings, and the worship of a city that loved him for 15 incredible seasons. But his heart is in Wilmington, North Carolina. He played college ball in Chapel Hill. His family and heritage reside in the South. So why settle on Ohio? Because that state sits at a crossroads of things that matter deeply to Michael Jordan himself. Ohio offers friendly tax laws compared to expensive hubs like California or New York. There is land there, actual space, not the cramped coastal lots where $40 million buys you a house with neighbors 20 feet from your window. It boasts a serious golf culture with very deep roots. The business scene there rewards heavy hitters who bring capital and real commitment instead of just fame and flashy headlines. Jordan recognized those advantages and moved in silence, brick by brick, over many years. While the world tracked his time in Chicago or Washington, coming in and out of retirement, he was constructing an Ohio project that had zero to do with sports and everything to do with his future financial legacy. The outcome is one of the most stunning, private wealth models any professional athlete has ever created in a single American state. If you had no idea Jordan was investing in Ohio, you are already ahead of most casual fans. Smash that like button and stick around. It all starts with the Grove 23. To truly grasp Michael Jordan's Ohio reach, you must start with his golf course, the Grove 23. It is technically in Hobe Sound, Florida. However, the Ohio link lives in the elite membership, the funding, and the local business titans. Jordan recruited men with deep roots in the Ohio banking scene. Stay with me, because this is vital for the full story. Let us be exact. The core of Jordan's empire consists of massive land holdings and business ventures scattered across the greater Columbus area. Constructed through the deep bonds he forged on the fairway with Ohio's most influential business leaders. Here is the truth about Michael Jordan and the game of golf. This is not just a pastime. It is not an old star killing time in the afternoon. Golf is the primary operating system of his entire business network. Every significant contract signed since his retirement likely started with a handshake on a pristine golf course somewhere. 18 holes, with the right billionaire at the perfect moment, created more wealth for Jordan than any sneaker deal he ever signed. The business scene in Columbus, a booming city home to titans like Nationwide and massive hubs for J.P. Morgan Chase, is where the real, serious money lives. And Limited Brands is packed with the kind of quiet, massive wealth that Michael Jordan has spent 30 years building connections with. He played golf with these elites. He invested beside them. He bought up land in markets they flagged as undervalued. He allowed their financial wisdom to direct his capital into areas far beyond the basketball court, and the returns were incredible. Jordan's Ohio property portfolio reaches across various commercial sites, luxury housing, and land deals that exploded in value as Columbus transformed from a quiet town into one of the nation's most powerful economic engines. This city is exploding with people and big money, making early real estate investors rich faster than anyone expected. Jordan got in early. Now, his Ohio property empire is worth $300 million. Let's break down these properties because these numbers are actually insane. Jordan's Ohio real estate holdings hit over $300 million once you count his massive commercial portfolio, various land holdings, and housing investments spanning from Columbus all the way to Cleveland and Cincinnati. This kind of wealth didn't just happen overnight. It was built the exact same way Jordan built everything through obsessive preparation, gathering competitive intelligence, and refusing to make any decisions based on anything other than the basic fundamentals. He began buying land in Columbus during the mid-90s while he was still playing. Back then, the city was decent, but it wasn't a powerhouse yet. The Ohio State University campus anchored the north side, driving a permanent demand for housing and retail that stays recession-proof in a way that regular commercial real estate simply can't match. Big companies started moving operations to Columbus because the overhead costs there were just a tiny fraction of what they faced on the coasts. Jordan saw the trend and bought. His portfolio includes major office buildings right in the Short North District, a neighborhood that transformed from a struggling 90s arts corridor into one of the most desirable residential and commercial spots in the whole Midwest. If you bought property in the Short North in 1995 and held it, you are rich today. Jordan definitely bought in the Short North. He owns retail spots along High Street that bring in massive rent from students and young professionals who've turned Columbus into a top destination for 25 to 35-year-olds across America. He holds massive acreage east of Columbus in zones that are now becoming master-planned communities as the city keeps sprawling outward. Land that cost a tiny fraction of today's value when he first grabbed it, now selling to developers at prices that prove how much Columbus has truly transformed. His residential portfolio features apartment complexes in the southern suburbs of Columbus, where the local population has exploded over the last decade. We aren't talking about luxury penthouses with fancy concierges and expensive rooftop pools. These are solid, reliable properties in great school districts that attract long-term tenants who pay their rent on time every single month. Boring, unglamorous, and consistently profitable. That is exactly what Jordan looks for in any real estate investment. It's not about being the flashiest thing in the room, but the most reliable one. The asset that keeps printing cash whether the economy booms or busts, whether he's a legend or forgotten, and whether anyone even knows he owns it. $300 million in Ohio real estate built through 30 years of quiet hustle. If that doesn't blow your mind, nothing will. Hit subscribe now. We cover this high-level stuff every single week. Look at the business investments beyond the buildings. Real estate is the foundation. But Jordan's Ohio empire goes way past bricks and dirt. His stakes in Ohio-based businesses span across several industries, reflecting the exact same philosophy that guided his massive real estate wins. He hunts for businesses with rock-solid fundamentals in markets that the mainstream investment world is completely overlooking right now. He provides the capital, his name, and his network, then he just lets the managers do their jobs. His most impressive business play in Ohio lives within the restaurant and hospitality sector. Jordan has been deeply involved in franchise investments across Columbus and Cleveland, creating thousands of jobs for locals while generating massive annual revenue. His strategy for franchise ownership mirrors what Magic Johnson did with Starbucks and theaters in urban markets. Find those specific locations that the giant chains are ignoring, prove the local market is real, and snatch the profit that everyone else was too blind to see. He is also a minority investor in various Columbus tech startups born from the Ohio State University research ecosystem. Columbus has built a real technology corridor, anchored by university research, and fueled by a constant pipeline of talented graduates who are choosing to stay in town rather than moving to San Francisco or New York. Jordan's tech investments are relatively small compared to the rest of his portfolio, but they carry weight because of the relationships he's forming with the next generation of Ohio business leaders. His financial service plays include stakes in insurance products and fintech companies that dominate the local Ohio market. These are easily the least glamorous plays in his whole portfolio. They are also his most consistent winners because financial firms in a major, growing, stable city like Columbus generate that steady, predictable cash flow that compounds quietly over several decades. Then you have his auto dealership network. Jordan owns car dealerships from North Carolina all the way to Ohio that together pull in hundreds of millions of dollars in total yearly revenue. In the American business world, car dealerships are incredible engines for building massive wealth. They require heavy initial capital, which keeps competition low, while bringing in sales plus that high-margin service and parts income that keeps paying out long after the car leaves the lot. This dealership empire is barely ever talked about. Now, let's get into the Hornets and that massive sale. We have to look at the Charlotte Hornets because that deal completely changed the ceiling for professional athlete wealth. Jordan bought the Charlotte Bobcats in 2010 for $275 million. Back then, the team was bleeding money, losing games, and stuck in a market the rest of the NBA just did not take seriously at all. Skeptics said he paid too much. They said he had no clue how to run a team. They called it a vanity project for a legend who could not walk away. Jordan ignored the noise and stayed focused on the mission. He got to work. He hired the right leaders and fixed the roster. Bringing back the Hornets' name was a genius move that won over the local fans. Over 13 years of ownership, he built that franchise value piece by piece. In 2023, he sold his majority share for about $3 billion. He paid $275 million. He walked away with $3 billion. In 13 years, he turned a mocked investment into one of the biggest returns on capital in sports history. $3 billion from one deal. That cash had to go somewhere. Much of it went straight into expanding his real estate and business empire in Ohio. When $3 billion hits your account at once, you do not ask if you should invest. You ask where. Jordan doubled down on the Ohio markets he had been nurturing for 3 decades already, mostly because he knew the landscape inside out, and because Columbus was growing at a pace that simply was not slowing down. He even kept a minority stake in the team, so he still holds equity and gets to ride the wave as NB. Evaluations continue their absolutely explosive climb well into the future. Jordan bought the team for $275 million and sold for $3 billion. That is exactly what 30 years of smart building looks like. Hit that like button if that payday just blew your mind. Now for the Ohio State connection. This is a detail that almost never makes it into the mainstream headlines. His deep ties to Ohio State University have quietly driven his entire strategy for investing across the state. Ohio State is one of the biggest. It sits right in the heart of Columbus, pumping out a massive, constant stream of economic power, research cash, tech patents, fresh talent, and that heavy institutional investment that only giant universities can pull from the government. These universities are economic anchors that no single company can beat simply because they never leave. They do not go under, and they grow reliably for decades at a time. Jordan's property holdings in Columbus are tucked right into the gravity of the Ohio State economy. The short north is literally right next to campus. His housing projects serve the graduate students and the young workforce that the university feeds into the city. Even the tech startups he backs usually grow out of research from the university. He realized that betting on Columbus was actually a bet on Ohio State, which is about as safe as a Midwest investment gets. The school has been gaining prestige and research funding for decades now, and that momentum was only picking up speed when Jordan started placing his big bets. His charitable work with Ohio State, specifically for academic grants and the athletic department, has given him incredible access to university leaders, giving him a front-row seat to the best investment opportunities coming out of the institution. This is how you build real, long-term wealth. You find an anchor that grows no matter what the economy does. You build your empire right in its shadow. You strengthen those ties through giving and being part of the community. From there, you let institutional growth carry your net worth upward for decades. Jordan executed this strategy in Ohio. His investment portfolio has climbed steadily since the mid-90s, completely ignoring the noise of the stock market or the wider global economy. The Ohio State connection is a secret chapter in the story of Jordan's massive business empire. If you just learned something new, hit that subscribe button. This is what we do here. The Mansion, a look inside the GOAT's private life. Let's discuss the physical estate. Everyone wants to know how Jordan actually lives his life in Ohio. His main Ohio property is a massive compound near Columbus sitting on 40 acres. Out here, 40 acres costs nothing compared to prime land near coastal cities. That price tag is exactly why coastal billionaires have been moving their money to Ohio for years. Your money travels much further. The privacy you get with 40 acres in central Ohio is something you just can't buy in California or New York. The main house is impressive, but it's not trying too hard. It's a 6-bedroom colonial estate. The architecture flows with the Ohio landscape instead of clashing with it. Think wide, covered porches. A backyard that spills into private woods rather than looking over a neighbor's property line. This is a home that whispers wealth without needing to scream it. It looks like the home of a local tycoon, not a celebrity trying to land another magazine cover for excess. The interior reveals Jordan's true nature in a way that fans of his work ethic will immediately recognize. There's a serious game room here. No social media backdrops or fake entertainment sets to be found. We're talking pool tables and poker setups, a place where high-stakes games happen among serious players only. Jordan has been a relentless card and dice player for his entire adult life. This room is his sanctuary. Then there's the home gym, which puts most professional training centers to absolute shame. At 60 years old, Jordan still trains with a ferocity that would leave younger athletes completely exhausted. He admits he can't kill that competitive fire. The gym is where he channels that legendary energy now that his professional basketball days are over. There's also a high-end golf simulator for when the Ohio weather makes hitting the actual links impossible. Those Ohio winters are brutal. Jordan isn't about to go months without working on his golf swing. This simulator tracks every single variable of a shot with the same precision that tour professionals use for training. The estate also features guest housing that's completely separate from the main residence. When his kids, grandkids, and his inner circle visit, everyone has their own space. Nobody is ever stepping on anyone's toes here. In this stage of life, family is his priority. That's a big shift from the years when basketball consumed his soul. The garage is exactly what you'd expect. He loves fine machinery, but he doesn't treat his cars like trophies. His fleet includes 7 vehicles, including practical SUVs built for those snowy Ohio roads, a couple of high-performance machines for when he wants to feel real power under the hood, and a golf cart that gets more use than anything else, traveling between the house and his private putting green. The green is absolutely flawless. It features multiple pin positions and varying speeds so he can master every possible angle of his short game. You can see ball marks from thousands of reps. This is not for show. This is a professional training facility he uses every single day while on the property. Now, about the cars, it's quality that needs no explanation. The Jordan car collection in Ohio follows the same logic as his real estate and business moves. He's not looking for attention. He buys what he loves and he actually drives the things. His daily driver is a black Mercedes-Benz GLS. It's the standard, full-sized SUV from the Mercedes lineup. No fancy paint or custom rims. It's the same car you'd see a successful attorney or a nationwide insurance executive driving. It's just smart and practical, proving that the owner has their financial life in perfect order without making a scene. For longer road trips or events that demand more presence, he takes out the dark gray Porsche Cayenne Turbo. This isn't a showpiece, it's a serious driver's car, a car that's built to be enjoyed at the very limit of its engineering. The crown jewel is a Ferrari 812 Superfast, a rare flash of high-end automotive theater in a very modest car collection. Jordan has been a Ferrari guy forever. He started driving them back in Chicago when those massive Bulls paychecks finally turned a dream into reality. This 812 isn't some showpiece, it hits the asphalt. There is also a heavy-duty Ram truck used for the heavy-lifting moving gear and doing the real physical work of maintaining 40 acres of land and his private compound. Jordan doesn't mind getting a truck messy for actual ranch work. You won't find a museum of 30 cars built for Instagram content. He isn't showing off his wealth. He buys what he likes and drives. Most days in Ohio, he is just cruising a standard Mercedes SUV. The man walked away with $3 billion from the Hornets sale, yet he drives what a local Columbus dentist drives. That is the energy of this entire list. Subscribe and drop a comment. What shocked you most about his Ohio life? The philanthropy. Michael Jordan's bond with Ohio isn't just about taking profit. He has invested in the state way beyond his business portfolio activity. His giving focuses on schools and local youth athletic development. He funds scholarships at Ohio colleges for Black business students who come from families with low income levels. The logic is simple. Jordan built his empire on business acumen and wants the next generation to have the education to do same. He funds basketball programs in Columbus and Cleveland that offer more than just gym time. These specific programs include academic tutoring, college prep, and mentorship from local leaders who show kids' success lives far beyond any professional basketball court. He knows the NBA odds. He isn't building pro athletes. He is building careers. His medical donations help Columbus hospitals provide care for those without good insurance. This hits home. He has seen family members struggle with health issues and understands the specific pain of watching loved ones navigate a medical system that treats you differently based on what you can afford. His donations aren't for naming rights. He turned down every naming opportunity. He gives because he believes in the work the medical teams are doing, not to see his name on a wall. Jordan has given over $50 million to the state of Ohio over the last 3 decades. That doesn't even count the money his businesses generate, the franchise jobs, the property taxes, or the entire business network his connections help to build. The direct impact is absolutely massive. The indirect economic legacy is even bigger. This is what Ohio really means to Jordan. Michael Jordan chose Ohio, not for tax breaks or cheap labor like some giant corporation seeking a new headquarters location. He chose it to actually build a life. Quietly, he stayed and committed for decades until the place he chose finally started to define him more than the cities where he originally became a famous global superstar. Chicago owns the athlete, the statue, and number 23. That is the Jordan the world knows and loves. Ohio is where the businessman lives. It is where the real estate, businesses, and golf courses have been compounding quietly for over 30 years. While fans debated his GOAT status versus LeBron James, he built a kingdom in Ohio that has nothing to do with basketball and doesn't need sports to survive. It makes money and creates local jobs whether anyone remembers his jump shot or not. That is a real empire, not just what you earn, but what you build that outlasts the earning. The GOAT could have spent his fortune just proving he was the greatest player to ever step on the court. Instead, he spent it building an Ohio legacy that stays long after the final whistle blows and the crowds go home. The estate, $300 million in prime real estate. The franchise empire. Elite golf networks, university ties, and deep philanthropy. A slow, steady, decades-long collection of wealth in a state that values quiet patience over loud, flashy displays of cash. Michael Jordan doesn't literally own an entire Ohio city, despite the rumors. No single person can own a municipality. But his footprint in Columbus, the buildings, the land, the power is so massive that the entire city would tremble if he liquidated his holdings tomorrow morning. That is the true meaning of owning something tangible and real. This is the hidden empire that almost nobody ever discusses. From a private putting green and a 40-acre compound near Columbus to $300 million in property, built one silent acquisition at a time. Michael Jordan isn't just the greatest basketball player to ever live. Sure, he is that, but he is also a visionary. He took his NBA fame and salary, using them as a launchpad for something much larger and far more permanent than basketball. He chose Ohio while the world expected him to land in Miami, New York, or Los Angeles. A man who knew that the loudest person in the room isn't always the wealthiest. His Ohio legacy will outshine every highlight dunk he ever made. So, which part of his business kingdom shocked you the most? Drop a comment below. If this story about Black wealth and legacy taught you something new today, please subscribe and share the video. Narratives like this need to be heard more often. Catch you in the FixFixDAG.com next video.